Hello everyone, this is Guab, and today we're going to be going over MA Abyssia. So, the Abyssian line, according to Illwinter, is actually a rather tragic nation. Abyssia is a purely elemental nation, fire focus, and slowly over time they get more and more enraptured with the infernal, and the infernal, their allegiance to the infernal causes them to lose access to their elemental magic. So throughout the ages, they gain more blood, they gain more astral, and they lose their access to the eternal flame, the fire. And so that's rather tragic to Abyssia. They get blood sacrifices and rituals and all sorts of other stuff, but they kind of lose their way from their original identity. But it's actually rather good for us as a nation because astral and blood are fucking fantastic, and fire by itself pretty easily counterable. So Abyssia, in my opinion, gets better as the ages pass. Like EA, they still have a preference for heat +3 on their dudes, and their forts protect them from the death effects of heat 4. Honestly, it's probably still not worth it to go more than heat 3. Death and growth have half the effect. We have fire, blood, astral, death as our main paths, and we still get one extra bless point. EA gets 2 extra, but that's still pretty good. And we still get extra golden resources in cave forts. So let's go ahead and hop into the units. So first up, we have our human bred, which are human slave infantry, and we have the spear and axe variant. They have decent hit points, decent gold cost, but because they're slaves, their upkeep is really low. 9 prot, that's not especially good, but it's decent. 14 defense, that's pretty good. The axe infantry has 1 less defense, but it has 1 less cost, and it does a respectable 19 damage. This is not bad unit whatsoever. It just is not as good as our other units. If you're strapped for cash, these have less upkeep. That's really the benefit they have, and they cost less resources than your other troops. So if you need to just shit out a ton of troops, you can use your human bred, but I really don't think that there's benefit in using your human bred a lot. Because even though they're slaves, you just have higher prot options. So next up we have our Abyssian infantry, and we have 2 options for the Abyssian infantry. We have the battle axe, which has a 20 damage two-handed axe. This is 25 damage two-handed axe. This is a phenomenal unit at getting through thugs or giants or MA Ulm, or you're gonna have a lot more high prot dudes with human HP in the Middle Ages. And the Abyssian infantry chops through them all. It's great. Heat is usually good against people who have high encumbrance, because we can fatigue them out easier, and these are a great answer to a lot of middle-aged troops. And then we have our best kind of all-around unit, which is really similar to EA. In fact, it's identical to EA. It's only 20 gold, 15 HP, 17 prot. It's not quite as phenomenally outstanding as it is in EA, but we still have our heat resistance, we still have our heat aura, but the most important thing is we have a 19 damage 2 attack flail. So flail attacks twice, we can mulch their troops, 26 resources, really expensive, but we're going to be going prod too. So, hey, we can make a fair amount of these. These are your expander, these are kind of your everything, unless you're into crossbows. If you're into crossbows, then we'll use kind of our more standard Abyssian infantry. Size 3 to a square. 21 damage on an axe is respectable. They have a shield. They have really low defense because their armor is so heavy, but their shield parry 7. It's a full-on tower shield. So they're doing work. 27 resources, expensive. Like 20 gold, expensive, but 17 prot, 15 HP. These are gonna hold the line. And if you have effective buffs, mass regen, mass protection, which would be really hard for you to cast, but just other things to help them stay up longer, they're going to hold the line very, very well. Just because they're heat aura, high prot, high MR, even the tower shield is going to help them. Yeah, and here I have the Morning Star, which I still wouldn't use basically at all unless you're exclusively into shielded troops. But even then, I would just use the Flail guy instead. It's just not as good as the Axe. Pierce is nice, but Axe guy just deals 2 more damage, and it's quite good. 1 more defense, I think. Yeah. And Salamander, once again, these are pretty sick units, but only in rare circumstances. 50 gold is just a lot, is too much to justify most of the time. But hey, if you're early onto the game, your opponents don't have fire resistance, that they're going to be used pretty quickly, then they can be really effective at taking care of big chunks of troops. But these just get mulched. 20 HP, 10 prot is just not enough. But hey, at least they have 13 MRs, and because they are an animal, the high magic resistance helps protect them from being stolen or charmed or animal charmed or anything else, which could be really devastating. And then last up, we have Lava Warriors. These are not as strong as the Burning ones in the early age, but really you don't actually need a unit that's as strong as the Burning ones in the early age. We have Firepower 1 instead of, I think, Firepower 2. We have Berserker 3. We have Prot 18, which with Berserker gets us to Prot 20. But we still have our Heat Aura. We still have Firepower. We're still Dark Vision. We're still Ambidextrous. This is still going to absolutely mulch through almost all units. And we're going to, we have Sacred units. We have Sacred Mages, yes. But, it's pretty effective to just take a Light Bless for our Lava Warriors. So we're going to be kind of using these no matter what. And most of our troops require resources anyway, so you can't complain about having these as a great option. Very tanky, very beefy, very good, and can help you out of some tight spots early on. And I guess one more thing to say is that they're phenomenal in expansion. They're less phenomenal than Burning ones are in early age because you have Knights and other rare crossbows you can expand into. And, which these guys have a harder time into, but they're still going to make expansion really nice. And that is one of Abyssia's advantage, is having a little bit better expansion than everyone else around you, so you can kind of kickstart your early game. But you really, really fucking need to, because you're kind of a one-note nation, and so, unless you can get some diversity, you're going to fall off pretty hard later game. We have our Slayers, which are really similar to our Slayers in the early age. The recruit there are recruit any fort assassins that have poison daggers. They're pretty good. Assassination's a little bit weaker, but hey, they're still really good for taking care of uncertain units, and you can make LLPs. Lifelong protections, and they will still do a lot of work because we have blood magic and they can kind of assassinate anything with LLPs. We still have our beast trainers, which I still would. You never are going to recruit these for managing beasts because they only have 10 leadership. Animal if your opponent is using a bunch of animals, a bunch of elephants, you could recruit the beast trainers for that. But what these are still is a highly effective, highly cost-efficient thug chassis, because they're only 60 gold, which is already really low for a commander. They have 19 HP, 18 prot, a decent magic resistance, decent morale, and yeah, their attack skill isn't the best. Yeah, their base defense skill isn't the best, but they have high strength. If you're going into SCs or anything else, just throwing a great sword of sharpness on these boys, maybe a bracers of protection to bring that up to 20. And then even if you can point buff temper armor on him, and that'll bring him up to 26 protection, and that's 26 protection with, if you have hammers, 6 earth gems of investment. That's pretty efficient. And I clicked over to the next unit. So these are really efficient thug chassis if you can get your hammers and other economy online, and if you have enough earth gems. So I would still recruit these for that, but if you're using these for leading around your animals, I feel like that's a mistake, because 60 gold for leading around 10 animals is just not efficient. That said, if you're using them as thugs and you also, have like an elephant to recruit, or you're using a small squad of salamanders, that might not be bad, because you're using them for both the purpose. Warlord, this is kind of just your default leader. He has 100 leadership, which is phenomenal, especially with the larger army sizes in Dom 6. Gold is high, but like manageable, and he has great stats. Once again, the problem is like, you don't really want this guy to get into melee, because then you're throwing away, your leader. You could dual equip Frost Brands, dual equip Mace of Eruptions, but even if I was doing that, even though Beastmaster doesn't have Ambidextrous, I would still prefer to use him. It's nice to only losing one attack on weapons that you don't necessarily have to have good attack on isn't bad, and you're saving 50 gold. Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, he's not bad. And he's a great leader for what it's worth. He's just a little bit overpriced, but he does have a unique profit site, profitizing him, not bad. Though at the start of the game, though, I wouldn't leave him profited and everything else. Sorry if I'm a little bit down on him. He's a perfectly serviceable leader, and he's what you have, so you can't really complain. Next up, we have our Anathemet Salamanders. This is our most common mage. They're Fire 2, Holy 2, which now Priest 2 is actually useful for countering fear, so yay for that. And they're old. And basically all of our mages are old, which is a little bit of a problem, but hey, we're sacred, and we have a lot of incentive to take an unaging. Yeah, but like, there's not too much to say about this. Fire 2 is decent. We can do salamanders, we can do fireball, we can do, fire elementals, we can even do falling fires. Like, there's a lot of early spells that do a lot of work with fire magic. I was playing with the early age version of these against Ubar, and that felt a little bit rough because all my evos that are big value for early game weren't really working, but hey, I could still summon salamanders, and you have the fire gems on Abyssia to do so. So, can't really complain. They're not super efficient research-wise, but they're serviceable, and they're what you have, so that's what you're gonna do. The Anathemet dragons, are better than they are in the early age because, hey, now they're Holy 3, and they also get a random magic skill, and you are going to treasure the randoms that you get for this. Earth 2 means you can make Earth Boots and really help all your other stuff out. Blood and Astral help put them in communions and can also enable you to do like stuff like summon Earth Knights or forged, I think the new name for a Communion Master and Communion Slave items are Star Metal Matrices, but the Communion Matrices, and then Fire, Fire 4 can get you some big fire globals and stuff like that. So these are really, really valuable mages. These ones are super old, and they're also expensive, but they are recruit anywhere, so you can't really complain about it. You're going to be recruiting a fair share of these. If not for the magic pass, just so you can cast your national spells and stuff like that, then also for the randoms, and it's never a bad thing to have Holy 3s running around. They are a little bit overpriced and they are old, but we want to be able to take care of those options. But you're gonna still get more salamanders than dragons. Though I will say, if you're going Drain, I don't know why you would, but if you were going Drain, these would be your research mages, just because it'd be 10 versus 6, and then they'd be more efficient. Next up, we have our Warlock Apprentice. These are the same things as our better Warlocks from the early age, and you can see kind of our better Warlocks are now the Apprentices because, hey, we're going more into the infernal. We're getting more dark into blood. These are great mages, perfectly serviceable. We wish we could not recruit them on our cap, but our cap is too crowded to use these, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. That is kind of how Abyssia is that like our cap is crowded and we just kind of have to live with it. Next up, we have Demon Bread, which are actually a really good unit. They have Blood Searcher 1, so they can search as if they're a Blood 3. They're fire magic too. This enables them to do like blood boil and like soul contract and like a couple other really good fire blood spells. They're flying. They can get around really well, which kind of surprises some people. And they're holy. And a priest too. So these are quite a good mage. And I would tell you to recruit them all, but the last mage in your capital is the best. You're always going to want to have a couple of these ready to move around. I mean, we do now have the Magic Phase Movement Blood ability, but just being able to fly your dudes around is really nice, and this is a decent cross path. So, hey, they're great. Can't complain. They are, I believe, they're 4 recruitment points, so they're slow to recruit. So, yeah, you're never going to get too many of them, but it's nice to have a couple of them running around and doing stuff. And notably, they are not old. They're not even close to old. And these guys are... Yeah, these guys are not old. Okay, they're not old, but they're close to old. Demon Bread is going to be your one mage that is not old. So, yay for that. And then lastly, we have our Warlock. A phenomenal mage. Blood 3, Astral 2. We're guaranteed a random. We're guaranteed we also have a 10% random. These guys can be send lesser horror spammers. They can call lesser horror. They can do, a bunch of blood shenanigans. They can do astral shenanigans. They're a phenomenal mage, and they're not slow to recruit, which is a really, really big deal for us. We can also use them for, adept crossbreeders. For the ones that we random earth, we can summon demon knights, we can blood contract with the fire ones, we can blood boil. Like, these are such a phenomenal utility mage. We would absolutely lose our minds if they recruit anywhere. And Abyssia would suddenly become a great nation. Which, just to be clear, Abyssia is a decent nation. It's just constantly throughout the game, we're just posing the question to ourselves is, how can we diversify? Because that's what our main goal is like, we are really strong in blood and astral. We are really strong in terms of troops. We just need to become strong in other ways or else people can counter us. But I will say, you can get really, really far. Like, sending horrors is the effect is basically the same as hitting someone in the face with a bat. Like, we can whap a whole bunch of people in a row. But eventually, the third guy down the line is going to see that all we're doing is hitting someone in the head with a bat, and they're just gonna they're gonna dodge. I don't know. They can stealth their armies, or kill our horror casters, or just like magic phase, seeking arrow. There's just there's a whole bunch of things you could possibly do. But hopefully, with the time that our Astral and Blood mages get us, and with the time that our amazing troops have gotten us, then we'll have time to diversify. And that's kind of what the hope of this nation is like, you go hard on the gas pedal early game, using your fire, or using your Astral and Blood a little bit into mid game, using your troops, and then you're gonna kind of go, use your shifter, and adjust gear, idle. I'm not a car guy, but we're just trying to rev up our engine so we can re-engage and kind of diversify everything else. And we can make sky metal, we can make communion master matrices and communion slave matrices and stuff like that. So it's not even hard for us to stitch random mages that we find into our communions. What we really want is to find astral indie mages, because then we don't need to waste our valuable blood mages being communion slaves. We can just throw away indie mages, which would be great. Okay, so I feel pretty good talking about the troops and the mages. Okay, strategies. So general strategies, I mostly went over that, but early Evos, like Evo 3, Evo 5, really useful for us. Conj 4, Conj 5, really useful for us, for, spamming elementals, because we have 4 elementals. We gain 4 fire gems a turn. We are going to be spamming out those fire Ellies when we have the turns. And if someone does have fire resistance, the fire snakes and the fire elementals gives our mages valuable stuff to do, so that's really nice. We're going to be blood hunting kind of up as soon as possible. And I don't think doing early blood summons is a bad idea. Like, we're going to want to get blood 4 for Call Lesser, Call Lesser Horror for, like, combat. But blood 5 is really important for us because then we can get blood knights and we can go send Lesser Horror so we can magic phase with them and do everything else. But the majority of stuff is going to rely on our troops early game. Troops backed up with, limited evos by the anathemas. And that really should be enough. Like, you don't want to fight someone who has fire resistance for your first war. You want to just fight someone you can run over. It's going to be really hard for them to do anything about your troops early on. Especially since fire resistance in Bless is way less common. Okay. Let's kind of go over the importance... let's go over heroes, because now we can do that. So we have the Rage Lord. Pretty good as a thug. Berserk 5, this is going to get up to 21. Yeah, 21. I think this is pretty safe, but Sacred, Firepower 1. I mean, he's not that good, but it's always nice to have a hero. So, here's one. He could definitely win arenas. Next up, we have someone that's actually pretty useful. Blood 3, Fire 3, but he's Adept Cross Spear 8, so hey, if we're using our Infernal Breeding, then this guy's pretty valuable for that. And he's Priest 3, it's always just nice to get free that level of mages. And then our last hero is the Slayer. This is really similar to early age, capital only Flying Assassin. These are really This is a really valuable one. Protect this with your life if you can. 20 HP, 15 prot. I would definitely slap LLP on him and fully kit him out. Just because flying commanders can assassinate in forts. So it gives you a lot of strategic flexibility. But these heroes are nothing to write home about. I would say, though, in early age, you actually have really nice heroes. So kind of unfortunate. We also have the Great Lion, as is able to be summoned with the spell. Let's check the spell name. The spell is Pride of Lions. It costs 10 nature, and you get 10 plus Great Lions. But it's just not worth it. Not enough prot, not enough damage. You're not going to use it for anything. Scorpion Man, actually pretty good. It just comes out at conj 8, so it's too late for it to do anything. But like, look at how sick this unit is. It's even Sacred Fear. Has a whole bunch of different attacks. I wish this came out at conj 5, because then you would actually summon them. But you get one Scorpion Man for 12 Earth Gems, so it's also pretty high cost. But I mean, just look at him. He's so sick. Too bad it's not usable. We also get Hellscape, which is Alt 6, and that increases, it's a remote attack. It increases temperature in a big way and kills 10% of the population. Only useful if we're gonna fight on a province, and we can use Hellscape to kind of guarantee our, power and everything else. And then lastly, we have Infernal Breeding, which we went over for EA Abyssia, but it's a specialized breeding that only Abyssia has, and can create a lot of really valuable units. The thing is we also have really valuable units. These ones are no upkeep, so if you get enough Blood Hunters and everything else to spam cast Infernal Breeding, these are all good guys, and oftentimes they come with... oftentimes they come with leaders and commanders and stuff like that. So, like, hey, that's hella valuable. So, if you can Infernal Breeding and you have the spare Blood Slaves, since it costs 25, then I would do it. And it's Blood 3. You'll have the Blood Mages to do it. Do I regret not doing it more in my early age game? Actually, yeah. I should have done it more in my EA Abyssia game. But, it's, it's not bad. It's definitely a national strength, but I don't think that it's anything to, absolutely die over. But they are upkeep free troops, and that is really valuable. Actually, because I'm trying to think of these, because you get you get not that many of them. Okay, yeah, you get like 20 troops, so like that's pretty valuable, and some of them fly. Some of them are really weak, though. A lot of them are really weak, and it is the best in the early age. But, you know, hey, it's still there, and they're still cheap, and yeah, can't really complain about that. Next up, we'll kind of go over... Oh, yeah, sorry. We also actually have 2 more spells to go over, and those 2 spells are... Liquid Flame of Rocks and Inner Furnace. So this is a nice Evo 5 spell. It's kind of your signature for your Anathema's Dragons. Does big damage. It's armor piercing. It's heat fire. Yada yada yada. It's great. I mean, it's not that much better than Falling Fires, though. It's nice. I would not base my entire strategy around it. Because, like, we're going to get 12... I mean, I guess one single mage can get 12 casts off, and the range isn't bad, but, it is what it is. It's not bad. And then we have Inner Furnace, which is actually kind of nice. It increases our infantry heat aura by 3. Though it's... They have to fail the MR check, so it's not going to apply to too many of our troops. And with the way that heat auras now stack, it basically just makes our heat aura bigger around the battlefield. Not that there's more checks, and we don't really need it. So, you know, it's like, it's not really going to help us too much. But, hey, it only costs 1 fire gem, so can't complain about it at all. Next up, we'll go over some of the important spells for us. So we have Blood Boil, which is armor negating. This is untyped damage. It is magic resistance negates, but this is an important spell for you that people cannot resist with fire resistance, with heat resistance. And so Blood Boil is a really nice spell for a lot of your mages if they're able to cast it. Soul Contracts. We have a really strong early game, and Soul Contracts are super greedy. They auto summon a devil. In my opinion, Soul Contracts kind of pay for themselves if you have them for 10 turns. Some people might disagree with that math, but I would say because of the mage turn efficiency of Soul Contracts, that's what I would say. I actually like making Soul Contracts on MA Abyssia, but you do have a lot of other things for your Blood Slaves to do. I think it's fine to be greedy on Abyssia, though. So, if you want to make a couple Soul Contracts, we have the paths to do it, and I don't think it's a bad idea to do it all. And it comes on now at... this is the Dominion's 5 Mon Inspector. Sorry, it comes on at Construction Level 3, so it comes really early in the game. And, yeah, we're going to want as many scaling advantages as we can get. Maybe you build, like, 4 at most, but, like, hey... I would not complain about getting 4 extra devils a turn. You know, you leave them alone for like 5 turns. That's 20 devils. You can attach them to an army. And devils are pretty good. They're high magic resistance. They can mess up the rear. And people are going to be surprised to see you have that many flyers. So, not bad at all. Not bad at all. In terms of spells, boop. 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 There we go. All spells, yeah, okay, there we go. Evocation, important path for you, gets you Fireball. Fireball is really nice early power. It's big damage. It is heat, you know, but you don't want to fight early war against someone who has heat resistance anyway, so, you know, let's hope we can avoid that. Falling Fires from Far, kind of bad, but Falling Fires, pretty good, and this also gets you access to Liquid Flame of Rocks, but I would most of the time rather cast Falling Fires, just because it's really big AoE, does a lot of damage, can't complain. But if your opponents do have fire resistance, then Liquid Flame of Rocks will at least still do damage. So yeah, those are good. Flame Eruption, it's very short range, so not really much use. Firestorm at Evo 7, really good for you. But people are definitely going to fire resistance if they fight you, so, you know, how good is it really? At least, like, if you cast it, it forces your opponents to come up with a solution to it. And you could always, you know, manage to snipe their commander, so it's not that bad. And then Flames from the Sky, very important spell for you for removing opponents' armies. But yeah, that's very late game and kind of later than we were than we like talking about. Incinerate, very valuable spell for doing with thugs and super combatants since it's 18 armor negating damage. But once again, it's heat fire, so your opponents can counteract it if they want. Oh, important spell though, in my opinion, for Abyssia is Distill Gold and Transmute Fire. They transform 10 fire gems into 250 and 350 gold respectively. A lot of people have a lot of different feelings about that, but in my opinion, early game Abyssia, you are going to have more fire gems than you can spend. And so transmuting gold to help you get up some early infrastructure, it's totally acceptable, not bad at all. You know, you're not going to want to cast it like more than 5 times, but you know, hey, you can do it. It's there. It's not bad at all. Yeah, and like, well, we can do Solar Eclipse, which is nice because our troops have dark vision. That's alt 5, so that's early enough for us to talk about. But yes, so Solar Eclipse is pretty valuable. None of the other stuff are really what we want to talk about. Ah, yes, Nest Salamanders and Fire Elementals. Big for both of us. Nest Salamanders creates a lot of blockers. They have 10 defense skill, no HP, basically. And they have Flame Poison Bite, which does a lot of poison damage. So, and does heat fire damage. Yeah, so these are good for holding up a line. Salamanders are especially good into giants and other nations with low attack density. Not that there's that many giants in the Middle Ages. Though typically fire elementals are just going to be better because they do magic damage and they do a lot of damage and they have fire shield and everything else like that. But hey, if your opponents have... Actually, how much... Flame Strike to... Yeah, it's heat fire. So if your opponents have a lot of fire resistance, just using the... the fire snake... sorry, not those fire snakes. How did I lose it? Am I just blind? Nest Salamanders. Yeah, there we go. Nest Salamanders as blockers is good. And yeah, I don't think Nest Salamanders is good. There's times in which you want to use both. If you want to use them as blockers, Nest Salamanders is probably better. If you're using them as like your units and stuff, fire elementals are really good. Yeah, these Nest Salamanders is not magic units, I believe. Oh no, they are magic beings. Okay, forget that point. But yeah, there's nothing to really complain about there. Enchantment is a really good path for you because you can surprise people with, you know, flaming arrows, and you can do some fatigue plays with Heat from Hell. And guess what? Enchantment 6 also gets you Internal Pyre, which gets you all your other gem gens, and you can do Flame Ward. I mean, Eyes of God is also a great spell, but like, you don't really need to go too much past Enchantment 6. That kind of gets you everything that you really need. Thom can get you Bonds of Fire, which is pretty good. It's like Earth Meld, but for fire, and its magic resistance negates. If you're fighting really good sacreds, or you're fighting giants, or something else like that, or even if you're fighting elves, Bonds of Fire is really good. It is worth going Thom 2 just so you can do that. I don't think it's not worth going up Thom if you're just doing it for Rage, or if you're doing it for Battle Fury or Teleport, or anything else. But we will eventually go up here all the way for the spell Teleport, just so we can move around our stuff better, and eventually cast Soul Slay and Enslave Mind and stuff like that. But these aren't early game things that we want to do. We want to focus in general. We want to focus on doing horrors and stuff earlier into the game with our Astral and Blood Mages. But these are here. If you're going against people who have low MR units, like they're using a lot of animals and stuff like that, that can be pretty valuable. And then last, so Blood Feast, pretty useful for your mages. All of them are old, and this removes afflictions, so we're going to be casting Blood Feast a lot. So Blood Feast is pretty important to us. And Call Lesser Horror, very useful battlefield spell. Calls horrors. It can help mulch very strong units. We can spam it quite a bit in communions behind our lines by casting Call Lesser Horror, Reinvigorate, Call Lesser Horror, Reinvigorate, and Pain Transfer. Pain Transfer is really good. This, you can cast this on your communions, and it makes your blood communions turbo communions. So have a communion master cast Pain Transfer, and as long as you have enough blood slaves around, your communion slaves will never die. So, oh, and the blood slaves only take 1 damage and they have 10 HP, so that can be really, really, really valuable. That said, Abyssia's blood mages all have fire or heat auras, so makes it a lot less valuable. You're going to need to have other commanders hold your blood slaves, and the logistics of that can get a little bit complicated. But Pain Transfer is here for blood turbo communions, and yeah, it helps you get your horror spam off better. Send Lesser Horror, very important spell for you. This is the main reason why you want Blood 5, because we can get these paths naturally. The boosters are not expensive, and spamming Send Lesser Horror, we can stack these. It will demolish other people, and if we send Lesser Horror before we call Lesser Horror in battle, then the horrors are way less likely to attack us. Really good stuff. And I'll include the Earth. Yes, I'll include the Earth path. We don't get too much Earth, but it is in our communions. For casting buffs or whatever, and also for summoning. So an important spell for us, lastly, is Bind Demon Knight and Summon Ill Earth. So Demon Knight's really good, 22 prot, 20 hit points, decent attack, decent defense. These Demon Knights really good. I know you only get 1 of them at a time. It is worth spending, though, 15 blood slaves to get Demon Knights. If you can get your blood economy up, you can use Demon Knights as your main troop. Well, not as your main troops, but as a hard-hitting shock cavalry that your opponents are not going to be able to deal with at all. So that's really nice. And Summon Ill Earth. Ill Earth, just it's a Earth Elemental that is pretty hot, and it only requires 2 blood slaves as opposed to actual gems. So can't complain about this. It's a pretty based unit, 93 HP, and it's a way to get non-fire types damage out there. So those are going to be our main spells. Obviously we have Call Horror and Leech further on, which Leech is great. Can't complain. Yeah, and Blood Boil we already went over. Is there anything else that we're missing? Yes. Sorry. There's a lot of Earth spells that we can actually point buff, like Earth Shatter Hammer, Strength of Gaia, Weapons of Sharpness, and we will get units that are worth point buffing, whether our Sacreds or our summons, our blood summons or regular summons or anything else. So those are pretty good. And I guess the last one that I'll go over is Terracotta Army. Terracotta Army. We have a lot of fire gems. We have these paths. Terracotta units are not bad. 7-10, but they're slash resistant, pierce resistant. They do not eat. They're inanimate. They're mindless, so they are not vulnerable to horrors. They just have a lot of really good tags. And I forgot that they have Spirit Sight too. So they just have a lot of really good tags, and we can kind of just shit them out. So not a bad idea to shit out Terracotta Soldiers, especially if you need more line holders and you're going to use a lot of horrors. Can't complain. Can't go wrong about Terracottas. And then also, we're going to summon Golem Construction and stuff like that, but that's later on into the game than we really need to talk about. Okay, so I think that is all the... I think that that's all the spells that we need to talk about. And so then the last thing that we'll talk about is Pretenders. So our national strength, we can rely on early game. We have great evos. We'll be able to early mid game use horrors and blood and astral to kind of just dominate people. But after that, people are going to be able to deal with us and everything else. So the main thing that we want our Pretender to be able to do is give us some magic diversity. And we can use him for site searching, we can use him for whatever we want. And so, like, that's what I'm going to be building here is a dormant site searcher. They can help give us some diversity through conjuration, through site searching, through everything else. And yeah, can't complain. So our troops are very resource intensive. They're not resource intensive. Oh my gosh. So we can safely go Turmoil 2 and Productivity 2. Turmoil 2 kind of sucks with blood hunting because it means we won't naturally get the unrest down, but it is what it is. Can't complain. So these are the main scales that we want. We can throw growth, we can throw protection and misfortune. Oh, let's go ahead and do growth too. And the main bless that we want is unaging, just because it's going to really suck for us if all of our mages are constantly dying. Unaging is really great. We can even slap shrouds on our warlocks, which we will need to do if we don't want them to die. And shroud's pretty efficient as long as we have hammers. It's only going to cost us 3 astral gems. Can't complain at all about that. So we have unaging, and we're just working on building up our magic diversity. We have enough astral, but it'd be nice if we had more earth. It'd be nice if we had more air. Okay, so kind of these are all the paths that we don't have. We have blood. We have decent blood, but we have decent blood. We have decent astral, and we have decent fire. So we don't need more of those. But he starts with blood, so might as well go up blood. And so then let's go ahead and do Divinity 6. We don't want to go, if we're making use of our infernal breeding, we don't want to go Fortune 0 because we get better results with infernal breeding with either high misfortune or high luck, so we can throw it either way. Since we're going Turmoil 2, it'd be nice if we went luck 2, and we don't really benefit from growth that much. I don't know though. And the reason I went Heat 2 instead of Heat 4 is while we are protected in our castles from Heat 4, that is not enough. It's like all of our lands are going to languish in dying slowly if we go Heat 4, so Heat 2 is better and it gives us the same amount of points. I mean, that's pretty hot. But, I mean, we do Death 2, Luck 2. This is probably not bad. This gets us 2% death, which the base growth rate is 2%, so this makes most of our provinces neutral, except our plains with rivers and farmlands are going to be growing. And luck synergizes well with our order turmoil. It's going to be great for infernal breeding, and we actually have a lot of diversity, so that's going to be nice. Yeah, that's going to be nice. Okay, I like this overall, and 6 is enough to kind of get out some dudes early. So we're going to want something that is useful on our mages, but also useful on our lava warriors. And like the easiest way to do that is to do reinvigoration and heroism. So let's take 5 heroism, just super easy. I don't know if there's a hotkey to do this. I have not found out what it is, if there's one. So heroism is going to help our research, going to help our troops. Yeah, can't go wrong with some heroism. I mean, yeah. What size are these guys? These are size 3. Oh, so they can do 3 to square. So we're not gonna try to go larger. And some people might be like, well, why'd you do Astral 2? It makes you vulnerable to Mind Hunt and stuff like that. We have a lot of Astral mages we're gonna be running around. Sorry, not Magic Duel. Yeah, it does make us vulnerable to Magic Duel. Just the Astral Cross Path with Cross Path is pretty valuable, especially with High Earth. Yeah, we'll random into it eventually, but it's just nice to be able to have. In fact, Astral is really valuable. It's fine. We'll go with this. There's leaving 1 design point left over is pretty hot. So we will actually go shock resistance because that's going to be pretty valuable on our mages and on our troops. Should we go enchanted blood or blood surge? Magic resistance is nice, and helping our commander survive is nice, but Blood Surge is probably more valuable, and our troops are really killy. They have 2 attacks. It's going to synergize really well with Berserker. It'll boost up our attack skill to 17, and our strength to 20. So these will be 2 and 23. Yeah, okay. So Blood Surge, can't complain about. If we do some thugging, it'll be nice. And I mean, like, even for our mages, it's 1 revig. Can't complain. We have 3 left. We could take another shock resistance. We could take a poison resistance. Or we could take a cold resistance. Or we could take a revig. Actually, instead of shock resistance, I could take double revig. Oopsie. What did I get rid of, actually? Oh, I don't actually know. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll take 4 revig, because that's going to be really nice on our mages, and it'll be decent on our troops for keeping them being able to fight in the line. And like late game, we really are going to be wanting to go up alteration. You know, we can random earth into our communions. We can random fire. We can get some nice earth buffs on our dudes. Yeah. Okay, so this is a bless. Great bless. Helps our salamanders, helps our anathemas, and helps our demon bread, and it will work great with our lava warriors. Another thing that this enables us to do is put shrouds, because we're going to be going construction 5 anyway for sky metal matrices and also boosters and stuff like that. So we can, I think that this is good because Revig 4, effectively Revig 5, Heroism 5, is worth building shrouds just to put it on our warlocks and our... Oh, shoot, that's what I got rid of. Unaging. No, okay, we desperately need unaging. Okay, so, yeah, we're going to go back and take unaging. We'll get rid of 1 heroism so we can do another Revig. There we go. Yeah, so this is really good. It can keep our super valuable mages that are super expensive, 400 gold. It can keep them from being old, make them more effective in combat, give them more experience, give them more revig. Yeah, I like this a lot. I would run this in a game, and you see this as death too, but this is basically neutral growth. Our provinces won't grow or die in general. Though, like, plains with rivers and farmland are going to grow still. And we can get 5. I mean, we'll be getting 6 lava warriors out. Yeah. And when he comes out dormant, the main thing you're going to be doing with him for the first dozen turns or so is site searching, just so we can get that magic income flowing. I'm pretty happy with this guy. I'd definitely run him in a game. So we'll call him... we'll just call him Dormant Site Searcher. Dormant. Actually, we'll call him Dormat. There you go. Because he's just letting the troops do what they want. Okay. That is Pretenders. And, yeah. I guess we'll go ahead and do an overall summary. So, Abyssia is fundamentally a limited nation. You have great troops. You have actually and one thing I forgot to mention is that your sacreds are so much cheaper than early age. So we are going to have so much more gold flowing around than we do in the early age, because we have way more pop, and we're not throwing away as much on our sacreds. And even if we need to, we can use slave troops. You know, not that I would recommend, but so fundamentally, like, we have great troops. We have wonderful fire mages. We have decent blood and astral that doesn't necessarily scale the best just because our mages are really limited. But we are fundamentally limited. After our first war, because during our first war, people are going to have a really hard time dealing with our fire. And during our second war, people are going to have a really hard time dealing with our horrors. And dealing our third war, you could say people are going to have a really hard time dealing with our summons, but they're really not going to be by that point. They're going to have enough buffs or spells or whatever to deal with our, like, efficient summons. You know, granted, you know, they are efficient summons and efficient troops. So then it's just like, well, what do you have going for us? Well, we can win our first 2 wars. Like, it is built into our nation to win the first war with troops and fire magic, and the second one with troops and blood. And, like, it is our job as a successful Abyssia to pivot that into diversity. And this has diversity. This helps bridge us into diversity, which is the biggest thing that you want as Abyssia. Yeah, so I like MA Abyssia. I like EA Abyssia. I really like LA Abyssia just because I think Sacred Assassins are fun. I still think early age Abyssia is actually above the curve, and I think that's just because their sacreds are really hard to deal with. Extra bless points, they can hell bless and everything else. I think MA Abyssia is actually not above the curve. Other nations are just more efficient. Like early age, we have really efficient troops. Like they are costly, but they are good. For the Middle Ages, we have effectively the same troops, while everyone else's troops are getting better. We have very similar mages, why most other nations are getting, like, you know, they still have good options and stuff outside of their cap, which we really don't have good options outside of our cap. You know, like, we can make fires in a jar and make, like, really efficient raiding squads, you know, with just anathema salamanders, you know, spamming out fire elementals, and like that's how I won my first war, you know, like but like just we're fundamentally limited, and so like our question our answer while playing this nation is just always how do we get broader? How do we get deeper? And you know, we're not even particularly good at researching, you know. Our research mage costs a whopping 260 gold for 9 research. We could select another random, like, Marignon. Marignon doesn't have good mages, so I guess that's not fair. But, like, 65... I mean, our research is going to be 130 130 upkeep for, you know, for 2 more research. That's twice the upkeep cost for 2 more research. Like we don't have good research. We just need to grow. And like a lot of people aren't comfortable with having to be so aggressive, but a lot of people are too. And so I would say if you want to have good fun, like a good entry point into blood, I think Abyssia is great for that, because like fundamentally your blood is limited as a part of your nation, because you're going to be recruiting a warlock from your capital every turn. But some of them are going to die. Some of them are going to become old before you get your shrouds online and get diseased and die. And you're going to lose them throughout the game. So, like, you know, maybe you build a magic core of, like, 20, 30 of them. I don't know. But, like, that's going to be deep into mid-game. Like, Abyssia is great for dipping your toes into blood. Abyssia is great because you have really strong other things in the early game. They're really fun to play. Like, I enjoy them greatly. You are not going to be vulnerable to rushes. You're going to be able to play out the game kind of how you want to play it. It's just constraining, I guess. Yeah, playing Abyssia is constraining. But, hey, it's fun. And if you like semi-Zoroastrian themes, you know, and the Infernal and fire and everything else, then yeah, go ahead and have fun playing MA Abyssia. I think they're a little bit worse than average in the Middle Ages, but you know, don't take that to the bank. You know, play it, tell me your opinions, and let me know yourself. Anyway, if you're still watching to this point, please like, comment, and subscribe. The subscriber number's growing. Give me a dopamine hit like no other. So, you know, I'm just going to keep on riding the gravy train while it's choo-chooing. This video is specifically made for one guy who said, win MA Abyssia guide. So, don't remember your name, dude, but this one's for you. Anyway, please have a great rest of your week, guys, and peace.